What's going on, y'all? Bud Elliott here of the Nolecast, and that's Chuck Blunt. That's Nile, Lawrence-Stample. Guys, what's going on, man? Little Pitt preview today.
I'm excited, man. I'm ready to turn the page and let's see how this team responds.
Yeah, let's see it. It's been it's funny. It's been all or nothing in Doak. It's been all or nothing. Like, I'm ready for a conference game that looks and feels like a conference game. It's been crazy emotionally going into Doak. So yeah, this should be hopefully a better weekend.
I'm excited to see if they can show up and bounce back. And we'll start with the stat here that Chuck provided. We were talking about this in the pre-show. Mike Norvell teams off a loss are 7-18. Not against the spread, but like, do you win or do you lose coming off a loss? 7-18. So, like, more than twice as often, they're following up a loss with a loss. And obviously, a certain number of those came last year. 7 of those 17 came last year. Mm-hmm. But also you had 2 wins last year that came off a loss as well. So if you wanted to strip out last year, what are they, 5-11 off a loss? So can Mike Norvell get Florida State to care about a conference game that's not named Miami? Can he get him to bounce back? Can he get him to actually play hard and play focused and give a damn about a conference game? Mm-hmm. That's a major indictment of him, this record that he has in this stuff. But that doesn't mean they have to come out and suck on Saturday, right? That's right. There's no rule that says from the universe that says Florida State has to be awful on Saturday. I actually like a lot of the potential matchup edges they have, and they have some that really scare me too. So let's get into this. Let's thank our sponsor, of course, the legendary team. Chad does a great job. 844 FSU Loans. 844 FSU Loan is the number to call. More than 600 Nolecast listeners have done just that, and we appreciate each and every one of them. Also appreciate Chad for his continued support. If you need a home loan, you know who to call. All right, dealer's choice. We want to start offense for Florida State? We want to start defense? Where do you want to go?
Let's start our offense just because that's going to be the strength of this Pitt team, especially their run defense. So I think that a lot of the success FSU is going to have on Saturday is whether or not they can handle Narduzzi's front and create the run lanes you need. Because just as a call out, Pitt is number 1 in the country, allowing only 1.72 yards per carry. Now, context is important. They haven't exactly played a bunch of great rushing teams. So that's where I would like to see. I'm hoping Gus tests them early and often, because this offense that FSU runs isn't Central Michigan. It's not Duquesne. It's not Louisville. Louisville's very pass happy, right? And even Boston College prefers to throw the ball more than they prefer to run. So I want to see how this offensive line handles that front 4 and creates rushing lanes to then go play action off of.
Yeah, last year when we come off of a loss and it seems like obviously we're demoralized, we're not really into it. There wasn't any leadership to kind of pick anybody up. But football is a prideful game. It is a prideful sport. Like, these players, everyone was like, oh, they quit, which they really didn't quit. It's just there was no leadership to pull everybody together to be able to work together. You think that these players have been working their tails off since they were in Pop Warner to then come to Florida State and now quit? And now not give effort. You know what I mean? That's not realistic. So it's the leadership that has to pull people together in order to move the boat in the same direction. Mm-hmm. Because we had a lot of players not wanting to really do the small things that they were needed, not necessarily preparing. And those are things that you have to have leaders push people to do, because those are things innately that you don't want to do. But when it comes time to the game, they're going to try. But it's the preparation. So I really do think that we have the guys in certain places in order to prepare. And again, it would be really difficult to think that we have faced 2 top teams in the country, and then now we turn around and then not perform on a high level versus above average Pitt team. Mm-hmm. That'd be hard. That'd be hard to think, but you got to play up to your standards. We'll see.
No doubt about it. So a couple offenses they've faced so far. Louisville has really good backs, but their offensive line has been a real problem this year. And Pitt did expose the offensive line. They beat Pitt, they lost. Excuse me. They lost to Louisville. They lost to West Virginia, which probably shouldn't have been close, except for the fact they knocked out the Mountaineers quarterback for about 5 drives, and the backups came in, and they played so poorly that the starter decided he actually was okay, or maybe the doctors did. The backups in that game went 3 of 7 for 70 yards and 2 interceptions. So they threw 2 picks and 7 dropbacks, and all of a sudden, Rich Rodriguez at West Virginia is like, "Hey, actually, we're gonna put this starter back in." And the starter actually for the Mountaineers, he was 19 of 25 for $192, which is not bad, and also ran the football exceptionally well in that game.
I think I'd be pretty happy if that was Tommy's stat line on Saturday. I think that would lead to an FSU victory. 19 and 25 for 190. I think that's right in the wheelhouse of what we want this offense to look like on Saturday. Much more what we saw earlier in the season when they were having the success. Tommy dropping back 30 and 40 times just isn't in the recipe of success for FSU.
Any Gus quarterback, I certainly Tommy has not been playing exceptionally well. I don't think he's awful. He's just not not a consistently special college quarterback. He has some special moments, but he's not like somebody who you'd say is a star.
Mm-hmm.
That's just Gus's offense, man.
Yeah.
If you look at the numbers when they pass the ball more than 25 times, it's bad.
Yeah, I told you in preseason it was something. It's under 500, and a lot of those wins are actually against FCS and G5 schools.
Yeah, exactly. When this passing offense, I don't think these concepts really scare people. This is a spread option offense. They can dress it up how they want, but that's what it is. And I think it was a very smart hire to make if your goal is to not get fired, which I do think was their primary goal. Certainly, they have goals that are on top of that if things go well, which I know they hope to achieve after the Bama game. All right, so Pitt's defense. Mostly a 4-man front. They're going to play a boatload of quarters. Narduzzi's going to be a high pressure guy. He's going to blitz 6, not 5, pretty much all the time. I've been to I think 2 now actually. Narduzzi coaching clinics. The way he explains it is basically like, hey, we're going to do what we do. We're going to do what we do extremely well. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to hit. We are going to take away the run. And when we blitz, we're going to bring 6. And we don't think that most of the college quarterbacks can handle it. Occasionally, some of the guys that we face can, and in that case, we're in trouble. Like you saw Drake May just carve the hell out of him one year, right? And he just won on Monday Night Football and played a pretty good Bills team up there in Buffalo. Castellanos has not had good games against Narduzzi so far in his career. Doesn't mean he's guaranteed to suck on Saturday, but the results have not been extremely encouraging. But also, it's a very different offense. He's running now. This is the best offensive line Pitt has faced.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
And not the best backs. I think Louisville's backs are better than FSU's, but maybe the second best. And a fairly close margin there. I think your backs are pretty decent.
Would you say FSU has the better top line wide receivers? Like when you factor in Deuce, or is Louisville's? It's probably even just on the top. Like the total depth chart, Louisville probably has the edge, but 1 through 3, it's probably pretty even, right?
Yeah, I think Pittman's a nice receiver too. Yeah. I think this is the best offense that Pitt has faced so far. Just given the injuries to Louisville's offensive line and some of the struggles that they've had. So you might score a lot on them, but I don't think it'll be pretty. Mm-hmm. Just the way they play induces such a high variance because they make you hit deep shots.
Yeah.
Tommy through 3 games was really good at hitting deep shots. Through the first couple of years of his career, he was literally the worst in the nation in terms of deep ball accuracy. He started to drift back to earth. I don't think he's going to become the worst in the nation again. I think he looks improved there actually in some ways. So Narduzzi will challenge him to hit deep shots and see if he can do it. And if he airmails these deep balls, then you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a game where the offense probably struggles down to down, but they're going to have an opportunity to hit 4, 5, 6 big plays that are going to be available because of how he plays at the secondary in the back with all the pressure he brings. So it's going to be incumbent on Tommy has to be accurate on those balls, but Deuce is going to have to go win some one-on-ones like he did in the Virginia game because he's probably going to get 6 or 8 opportunities. And if he can come down with 3, 4, or 5 of those type of thing, he could have 165 yards and 3 touchdowns because the opportunity is going to be there. But Tommy actually has to place those in an area that Deuce's catch radius can make a play on it. That'll be the big question, especially when we've seen when Tommy gets heated up on the blitz, his throws can be a little off target. And so that's going to be, he needs to keep his composure and just put it where that 6'8" frame can go get the ball, right? Or 6'7", whatever. Deuce, he's enormous.
Right. Yeah. And that's amazing, especially when you compare him to a KB or something like that. That gives you opportunity. But one thing we talked about last time was whether a team gets better progressively throughout the season. And one thing that I feel strongly about is when you meet, let's say, so we have Gus bring in Tommy, and now we're trying to figure out, let's get gelled, let's get situated here. we're compiling a bunch of data. That's all we're doing is compiling a bunch of data. Gus is looking at what plays are making sense, what things we need to fix, what things we need to alter. Last week, we saw a lot of opportunities for Tommy that he wasn't able to hit on. There was a lot of things that he kind of maybe ran out of the pocket a little bit too early. I think this week, coming into a defense like this, it's going to play into the hand of Gus realizing that we have to change the way that he sees the pocket. Though he may be a little bit shorter, there's opportunities for Gus to be able to move him around in certain ways. And we saw those a couple plays that he actually rolled out. It was like a half bootleg type thing that got him open, that he was able to see the middle of the field. And it looked good. It was there. So with that being the case, I like this defense being able to kind of play right into that hand of the adjustment that we're trying to make coming off Miami.
Well, and I would then ask, Bud, given your familiarity with Narduzzi, how much does he bring his pressures from the outside, especially against a quarterback that he doesn't want to flush, right? So is he more likely to bring those from a nickelback or an outside linebacker than he is to bring like a double red dog up the middle or whatever, like as somebody plays?
Yeah, they will definitely do a lot of nickel blitzing
Okay.
for sure, especially against teams they don't think can make them pay with the throw. I should note, like, I think Pitt's linebackers are at the very top of the conference.
Okay.
Their PFF grades for their D linemen are like elite so far, but I'm not quite as sold on that. I think part of that is who they've played.
Yeah.
Like we know Louisville has problems blocking people. Boston College was an absolute disaster, and we kind of heard whispers of that, honestly, throughout the week last week. I watched that game to kind of see, like, ooh, is this really going to be a thing? And it looked like it was. West Virginia does not block real well this year. Obviously, they took like 70 transfers, and that's a total rebuild there in Morgantown. So maybe they have a bunch of D linemen who are awesome. Maybe it's the schedule. I don't think their backers being awesome are a maybe. I think those guys were really good last year. Like they both have pretty high like draft grades going into the season from the service that a lot of the NFL scouts sell to the NFL teams. So, I think you got to be we got to be mindful of these backers for sure.
Well, like and it felt like Virginia had success, especially in that like second half and in overtime by bringing pressure from the outside and specifically from the right side of our offensive formation, because Tommy's not as good rolling left. Most right-handed quarterbacks are not as good rolling left. And that's where they got him flustered at times, it seemed like, and his passes were more off target when he had to try to roll left to set up a passing window, right? Because his height does play a factor when there's all these giant offensive linemen and D linemen. So he does want to get outside the pocket to get cleaner windows. So I'm curious to see how much Narduzzi looks at the success Virginia had on some of their blitzes, especially off that right side, and tries to either flush him left or just keep him in the pocket in general by bringing, if you're going to bring two in terms of a blitz, you bring them from both sides, and then Tommy has to try to beat your D lineman through the middle of the formation, right? Because he's not going to have escape lanes to the left and the right.
Exactly. Last note on the offense, I think, for me at least, is what do we get? Is Pettis going to play?
That is a big question. He is listed on the depth chart, and I think it's probably going to be one of those things we have to wait and see what it says Thursday night, and then we're going to have to wait and see what it says Saturday at 2:00 or whenever. Well, it's 2 hours before kick. The game's at noon, so it'll be at 10:00. But I don't think we're going to get a definitive answer until they kick off the ball at a little after noon on Saturday.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. All right, let's talk Florida State defense here against the Pitt offense, which is really a pretty interesting side of this game. And if you're going to cover this 10-point spread, it's one that'll have to play super well, have to be optimized. Speaking of optimized, congruity is something that can really help optimize your business congruity HR solutions there, whether it's HR, payroll, any kind of HR solution you might need. Actually spoke with one of our friends who is at a competitor, and he told their marketing people at the conference over the weekend, hey, that was really smart to advertise on the Nolecast. I wish we could be in that spot. So congruity, make sure you hit them up. All the contact info right there in the show notes. Now, I know you watch this side of the ball quite a bit, obviously. Pitt hung like a 40 or 50 spot now on Boston College. They broke out a true freshman quarterback. What are we getting into here?
Yeah, it's one thing I'm happy about is that Mason started last game instead of this game. right? That's what you love to see because you have some film now, being able to see. One of the worst things is not knowing because you have to then pull film from like high school. And it's crazy watching film in your seg room, watching high school film on a quarterback because you're like, he might play. So we got to be able to break all of it down. So being able to have some good film to be able to record and watch him this last game is huge. So I'm really happy about that. Well, me and Chuck talked a little bit early in pre-show about being aggressive. I do think Tony White is going to be aggressive, but one thing about his defense that is great, and if Tony White's defense works, it works. It's really effective. When it doesn't, it doesn't. And if you don't have the personnel to run it right, it doesn't. The one thing I am worried about that I think is a good thing and a bad thing is they do run the hurry up, which we did have issues with. We are doing this in Doak, and we did get kind of woken up. I'm sure conditioning is another thing that they're working on right now, as well as I think we're being able to settle in a little bit as far as some of these other positions that we've moved some people around in. So that's a good thing. But us being able to show some of these blitzes and be able to stunt and move is going to make this kid have to figure out what's going on. And I think that is going to help rattle him, as well as these simulated blitzes like we talked about. Us not having to bring someone, but to make him feel like he's in a panic will be huge. So I see us moving around a ton, and as well as in the zone. We've been talking about the zone all year about how it's been kind of an issue. And I think for one time this season, we are seeing it to where I think it will be a good thing for us. It's going to show things that are open that aren't open. And he's going to have to really read. He's going to have to make good decisions and decisive decisions in Doak Campbell for his first away game. So I think that was already a lot at this kid. But regardless, it is a game that we're going to have to be really disciplined in our rush lanes because he is showing that he can leave the pocket. He can run to the sticks. He is wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. We're going to want to hit him in the mouth for sure to slow him down. But regardless, I really do think that we have a good opportunity to be able to rattle him early and be able to get some interceptions and some picks because he wants to push the ball down the field.
Also, they seem a little one-dimensional, bud. Like they're in the hundreds for a lot of the key rushing categories. So it's not like this isn't a Pitt team that you kind of expect Narduzzi to have a big physical offensive line and want to be able to pound the ball at times. And I don't think they have that in the arsenal this year. So I don't think you're going to have to sell out to stop the run, which means you should have a little more help if you want to drop guys into some coverages and try to be a little more complex with what you show him and ultimately are running, right? I think you can show 5 or 6 and drop 6 or 7 back into coverage a little bit more and use that zone to your advantage because they're just not the type of pounded up the middle running attack that you would come to expect from a team from the
right. Oh, I think we got you, Chuck. I agree with you on that. A couple things here. One, so their starting left tackle, Jeff Percy, he went down in the second half of that game and didn't come back in. So I don't know if he's going to play. Desmond Reed, their running back, has not been playing. He's one of the best backs in the conference. So obviously, if he's in, I would expect their run game to be a little bit better. But yeah, they're up tempo, wide open. I think you'll see some trick plays out of their offensive coordinator. God does a pretty good job with it. After seeing the success that UVA and especially Miami had with some of the screen stuff, I would expect a lot of that because this is 2 weeks in a row that you have not got guys on the ground when you had one-on-one opportunities in space. And Pitt receivers are not exactly as good as Miami's and especially not as Virginia's. Although, I mean, Tony's so slippery. Like maybe you like Miami's receivers over UVA. It just kind of depends. I think Tony may tip the balance in favor of Miami there. I mean, they're not bad receivers at Pitt, but like they don't scare me quite as much as UVA and Miami and Bama did. Like you have played 3 decent to awesome receiver groups so far.
Yeah, and I mean, they're in the 26th percentile in terms of passing explosiveness. So I think you can be a little aggressive and maybe play up on some of those screens to try to – because while it's good for a young quarterback to have shorter throws to try to get into a rhythm, I think that's also an opportunity maybe Jerry Wilson or somebody could read it and jump it, and all of a sudden you get a pick 6 and get that kid doubting himself, right? Like
Yep.
that you probably need something like that early in the game to set the tone and shake off any hangover you do have from last week. I think it's important for some things to go well early for this defense in particular.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you want to get in an early 7-0 hole because you gave up an explosive. I think that can only more doubt can creep in when you're trying to learn that new system and you have so many new guys on that side of the ball to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. And he had confidence in versus Boston. He
Mhm.
played and he looked it. He was at home, had confidence. I think Mason's the type of quarterback that wants to, he looked good. I'm not going to take that from him. He looked good. But I think it gives them a little bit of false hope as far as playing Boston at home, them not being really being kind of a shell of a team. And it just coming into Doak will be a different environment for him. And the defense that he's about to play with Tony White, it could not be more ideal for us as far as being able to not have a Mark Stoops to where we're running 4 down and we're going. Like we're gonna blitz, we're gonna show it, we're gonna just play mano a mano. That's not what it is. We do like being able to disguise that. So I think it's an ideal situation for us going into this game. And again, we need that momentum. I think our guys are ready to go. This is a prideful type situation. This is a prideful game. We've had our backs against the wall a little bit too much this season, and if we don't see some momentum build out of this game, it's definitely going to be worrisome.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm worried about, right? Like you haven't seen. Are you guys going to keep playing hard for Mike when your top level goals are done?
Yeah.
Like your odds of winning the ACC now, of even getting there to Charlotte, are so low.
Yeah.
Because you have 2 conference losses and against teams that are pretty unlikely to lose because you would need at this point UVA and Miami to lose 3 times in conference,
Right?
Because you lack the tiebreaker over them.
You also need Georgia Tech to lose a couple times. Like Miami's probably not losing multiple ACC games, so really it's down to UVA and Georgia Tech, and I don't think those schedules aren't exactly murderer's row for either of those that remain.
Right. Saying, hey guys, got to win this so we don't spiral and go 6-6 so I don't get fired is not really like the most inspiring thing you could tell. And Mike won't do that, obviously. But it's his job to get him ready to play.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you pay him the big bucks. So we'll see if he can. Certainly we'll see a lot of games at Madison Social this weekend. This is such a great weekend of college football, guys. And I think if you are not going into the game, you need to be watching at Madso or at Township, where they have my son. I think they have 18 TVs at Madso. So it's
sounds like my house.
Restaurant that size, really a great coverage of all the games there. I mean, Chuck, I know you got a bunch of screens. This is a weekend you got to have a bunch of TVs on for sure, man.
I will have 8 games probably going during the early and midday windows. I'll probably do double quad boxes. I'll at least do a quad box on one and a main game on the other. So, 5 at minimum.
I will be in the command center down there at CBS. I do one weekend a month typically for CBS for in studio, but we have, I guess it's 24 TVs. No, it's 18, right? In the command center there. So we'll get eyes on every single game. Just post up there with coffee and doing some hits on CBS HQ, CBS Digital, all that, like halftime show type stuff. So you want to get to predictions here?
Sure.
I wanted to jump in, run one thing.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Last episode we talked about Norvell. We kind of went in, and I do want to just kind of mention really quick that I'm really still confident in the fact that we can build the back end of this season out. And I know I think we're all still on the positive side of that. Us being able to build out this backside of the season, which is important. But one thing I did want to speak on that's more on a personal note with the development of one thing that Chuck said was, if you're coming into a program and you're trying to, Norvell's come in and said, hey, we're going to develop your child and we're going to make sure that he's well off. If I come in, I was really raw at Florida State. I came in, I played linebacker in high school. I was really raw as far as my skill set at defensive tackle. we're at training camp one day, and I'm sitting here. We're on the sled drills, and the way the sleds go up is that they have to go up in a specific way in order to get them up. If you're a D lineman, they won't work if you don't do it. And I'm sitting here watching Timmy Jernigan, and I'm like, okay, he's about to rip this thing's face off here in a second. I cannot get this thing to go up. I can't. Like, I am struggling to get this thing up. And Odell's like, all right, like, we're going to figure it out. And I was that raw. It was really raw. I talked to Timmy, and Timmy's like, yeah, I've been playing defensive tackle since I was 4 years old. Like, I never played really anything else. Like, my dad knew I wanted to do this. And he was like, this is the position you're going to play, and that's what I play. So I started playing defensive tackle my senior year. I started playing football in general my freshman year of high school. If I would have went to Florida State and not only do you invest in the player, but you take the time to know that there's not really much options, I have to get you ready, I possibly don't make it. Like, there's a chance I just don't make it. Like, I'm just so raw. I don't have the skill set. I don't have anyone really invested saying, okay, well, you have no choice, Nile. I see the promise in you. I'm going to like take overtime to get you ready. I probably fizzle out and I just don't make it, and I end up just portaling out to somewhere else. So I want people to really understand the dynamic of how it works if we are not taking the time in order to develop these young men into players. It takes away their future, and it takes away the one opportunity that they have. So though I really want to be able to see Norvell push through, and I want to see us be successful, there's so much more going on here than just wins and losses. It's players that we have and we're bringing in, and we're not developing, and they're fizzling out and losing the one opportunity that they have. So I just want people to put that into context.
I totally. I think when you have the pressure to win, you know, because your high school operation has been, you know, low effort, not low effort, just not up to standard in terms of like how much you care about it. I think that the portal, you know, looms large there.
Yeah, it does. It is just lastly, we just have to make sure we're focusing on bringing in the guys that we have intentions on using and developing them to the highest extent before it is that we have to make that move. Because sometimes you do, and they just don't listen. They just aren't coachable. They just don't work. That's fine. But we have to have good intentions. If we don't have good intentions, then it's just, But that's it.
Yeah, you can't have a 54% attrition rate on your high school recruiting. Like, for anybody who's not aware, they've signed 100 high schoolers since 2020, and 54 of them have portaled out. And that includes 25 of the 47 blue chips they've signed in that stretch. So that kind of gives you an idea, like, it's why they have to keep going to the portal. And I don't want to delve into that. I mean, I got a lot of that on my system last show, but I think that context is important for people of why we talk about recruiting the way we do. And when the numbers bear out like that, that kind of helps you understand why in year 6 the team looks the way it does and is constructed the way it is, because they've had no other choice.
No doubt. All right, predictions time. Here we go.
Do it.
Okay. Well. All right. So the line is currently 10.5, 57.5 for the total. And here are the predictions from everybody. So that expected score there based on the Vegas line is 34-24. SP Plus has it 29-25. FEI is at 29-21. FPI 30-21. And the Kelly Ford Index has it 29-22. So none of them have FSU covering, interestingly. But
just to call out, FPI and Kelly Ford are based on a neutral field, so they'd probably have FSU. Neither of those actually give their game by game score predictions, so you kind of have to use their ratings to guesstimate what it would be on a neutral field.
So I went 31-30. I really don't know what's going to happen here, guys. Like, if FSU shows up and really cares, I think they have a chance to roll them. Yeah. If they hit some like big plays early, you get this kid uncomfortable. Also, I have seen enough games of Mike Norvell's teams to not be confident they're going to show up after a loss and not bounce back. I mean, that's a pretty big track record now, and it's a depressing one. So I went 31-30 Noles. Very low confidence in this pick. I do think there's a chance it's pretty high scoring. The tackles for both teams being questionable give me a little bit of pause on that.
Yeah, I'm going. Am I good?
No,
yeah.
I'm going 38-17. And the reason why I'm doing that is because we faced what some of the top five, or at least top five defenses, offenses. We've done well last week. I think we do better if our offense is able to not make some of those mistakes. I think Tony White's defense plays really well into what we're going to see on Saturday. I think with this true freshman quarterback, he is going to get welcomed into college football this upcoming weekend, not only in Doak, but as well as with guys that are trying to get some payback on not winning Miami. And I think the locker room is so important, and it has to be really spoke on and respected that our locker room is important. The fight that we saw at the end of Miami, though it was kind of whatever, it still meant something in some capacity. And that means that our guys aren't going to lie down. So if that is a good assumption or a good thing to use going into this game, they're going to be fired up, ready to go. So with that being the case, I think this is going to be a high scoring game and we come out on top.
I could see any range of outcomes, to be totally honest. I could see Niles even Bud said, if they come out and they're focused, they probably can blow Pitt out. If they're still hungover from Miami, I mean, who knows what could happen? They could lose a game. I'll be honest, though, my model has this game under a touchdown. I think the Vegas line's just off, but maybe that's because I also know Mike Norvell's history. And as we brought up, he has struggled in this type of situation. He was favored in 10 of those games following a loss and went 6-4 straight up and was only 3-6-1 against the spread. So I'm going to lean with history. I do think they get the W, but I think it's going to be, you have to hit a few explosives. You have to play sound defense. This is going to be a game where we probably win down to down, but how much do we limit their explosives and how many do we hit on our own side? That's ultimately going to determine this game.
No doubt about it. All right, guys, we will see you for the post-game reaction. Go Noles.
Go Noles.